In this video, you'll see the top 10 sailing scenes in Game of Thrones seasons 1 through 7. If you have not seen the first 7 seasons of the epic fantasy series based on the Song and Ice and Fire books by George R.R. Martin, go out and get a subscription to HBO and start binge watching. There will be some spoilers in this video for viewers who have not seen the first 7 seasons. Let's do the top 10 right now.
Shall we begin?
Daenerys Targaryen has a lot of epic sailing scenes in Game of Thrones. The Mother of Dragons, Breaker of Chains, the Unburnt, the Khaleesi, and the rightful heir to the Iron Throne. So she says through seasons 1 through 7, Daenerys Targaryen is a long way from her birthplace of Westeros and has a lot of miles to travel. In this scene, she's being transported to Westeros by Theon and Euron Greyjoy. The son and daughter of the Kraken have a much bigger role in the show than they do in the books, where Victorian Greyjoy, Yara and Theon's other uncle, was set to be the person to transport the Khaleesi to her native Westeros. Davos Seaworth, the Onion Knight pledged to Stannis Baratheon, is probably the best sailor outside of the Iron Islands. But even a great sailor can be hard on his luck, and he found himself shipwrecked on a rock after the sinking and burning of Stannis' fleet in the failed sack of King's Landing. Stannis was lucky he found some friendly sailors in this castaway scene. If only his king, Stannis Baratheon, who says he's the rightful heir to the Iron Throne, was only so merciful.
Aren't you afraid of the Doom?
Her 8th best sailing scene in Game of Thrones involves disgraced knight Jorah Mormont has plenty to be afraid of as he and his captive Tyrion Lannister sailed through the Doom of Essos. Jorah was thrown out of Dany's guard after it was discovered he betrayed Dany to the late King Robert Baratheon early in the series. He captured Tyrion in hopes of transporting him to Meereen to give him to his Khaleesi Dany to get back in her good graces. But the stone men who inhabit the ruins of Valyria and suffer from the deadly and psychosis-inducing, very infectious disease of greyscale want to become stowaways on Tyrion and Jorah's sailing adventure. Subscribe to Slow Boat Sailing and hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss the stories that matter to cruising sailors. Number 7 is Dany's triumphal return to the historic seat of the Targaryens, Dragonstone, is a scene not to be missed. When the Targaryens conquered Westeros, united the 7 kingdoms, and created the Iron Throne with their fire-breathing dragons, they installed their loyal supporters, the Baratheons, in Dragonstone until they were betrayed by King Robert. Stannis held Dragonstone for most of the series until his army was smashed in the north, and Dany is able to retake the seat without a fight after she has departed her realms in Essos. After killing his older brother and securing the driftwood crown, the accomplished sailor and pirate and dabbler in sorcery, according to the books, Mad Euron Greyjoy wants to wed Queen Cersei as the Kraken fleet sails into King's Landing. Cersei rebuffs his hand in marriage, and the King of the Iron Islands is sent on a quest to win Cersei's hand that involves securing the Golden Company in Season 8 of Game of Thrones. Get out your Arbor Gold. We're ready for the top 5 sailing scenes in Game of Thrones. After discovering that her mother and brother were killed in the Red Wedding, Arya tries to seek passage to meet her half-brother, Jon Snow, who is in the Night's Watch near the Wall. The Braavosi captain refuses to make the trip, but grants her passage to the free city of Braavos when she presents him with this iron coin of the faceless men that she got from her friend Jaqen H'ghar. This trip is the start of her journey to being a shape-shifting assassin. At number 4, Dany and her young dragons sail to Astapor to buy a slave army. After Dany survived her test in the House of the Undying in Qarth back in Season 2. Not only do the Unsullied await her in Astapor, but assassins and a new, more loyal protector, Barristan Selmy, supplants Jorah as her primary protector. At number 3 in the top 10 sailing scenes in Game of Thrones is the new Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, Jon Snow, decides to make peace with the wildlings and give them safe transport south of the Wall at the objections of his rivals, so they will not be killed and reanimated by the Night's King and his undead hordes of White Walkers. Unfortunately, there are not enough boats to get all the wildlings to safety before the Night's King and the White Walkers storm the fort at Hardhome, and Snow and his closest allies barely get out in time. Luckily, the undead are poor swimmers. At number 2 is the epic battle for King's Landing in the Blackwater Rush. Stannis' fleet has the Lannisters outnumbered, but the Hand of the King, Tyrion Lannister, has a trick up his sleeve, wildfire, and Davos Seaworth loses his sons but barely escapes with his life as the fleet splinters and burns. For his bravery in battle to preserve Joffrey's crown, Tyrion is rewarded with a cell in the dungeon. The number 1 sailing scene of Game of Thrones happens below decks. Unfortunately, Jon does not know his real name is Aegon Targaryen, and following in a long Targaryen tradition, his new girlfriend, Daenerys, is also his aunt. Let me know your favorite sailing scene in Game of Thrones in the comments section, and subscribe and hit the bell notification icon so you'll see the stories that matter to cruising sailors, like when over 400 people were rescued from a cruise ship disabled off the rocky coast of Norway.